How many episodes are going to be in MHA Season 8? Because there's 32 chapters left in the manga, and I just wonder how Bones is going to adapt them into single episodes, and I have a few predictions about it, so let's get into it and see if I'm right. So I think there's going to be 11 or 12 episodes in Season 8, depending how much Bones wants to stretch it, and for the first 8 episodes of Season 8, it'll just be finishing up the final war arc. But what chapters is each episode going to be covering? Well, let me show you. The first episode of Season 8 will be All Might vs. All for One. In this episode, we'll cover chapters 399, 400, and 401. And we'll have Agakure's and Aoyama's big moments in this episode, and Stain is going to come back. But sadly, Stain will die in this episode, and episode 1 is going to end off right here. Now on to episode 2. Episode 2 is going to be All Might on the verge of death, and Bakugo will make his comeback. This episode is going to be covering chapters 402, 403, and 404. And this episode will basically be all about Bakugo. And episode 2 is going to end off when Bakugo saves All Might. We might get this page to end off the episode. Now on to episode 3. Episode 3 is Bakugo versus All for One. For half of the episode, we're going to see Bakugo versus All for One, but then we're going to see All for One's backstory. And episode 3 will cover chapters 405, 406, and 407. And the episode will end off right here during All for One's backstory. Episode 4 will cover chapters 408, 409, and 410. And in this episode, Bakugo will face off against All for One, and he will defeat him. And episode 4 will end off when Deku is facing off against Shigaraki. And then episode 5 is going to be Deku versus Shigaraki. Episode 5 is basically going to be Shigaraki pummeling Deku, and then we'll learn that Deku has to give up one for all. And this episode will cover chapters 411, 412, and 413. And episode 5 will end off when Deku unlocks his new form. And then episode 6 will continue their battle, and this episode will cover chapters 414, 415, and 416. Deku and Shigaraki will just be throwing hands this entire episode. And episode 6 will end off when Deku makes it to the Vestige world. And episode 7 will just be Deku inside the Vestige world. And this episode is going to be covering chapters 417, 418, and 419. And it'll be Deku trying to save Shigaraki inside the Vestige world. And then we're going to have the All for One plot twist, and this will be pretty cool. I'm really excited for this moment. And then episode 7 will end off when Aizawa walks out of the portal. Then episode 8 is going to be all the heroes versus All for One. This will be the final battle of MHA, and the chapters that will be covered will be chapters 420, 421, 422, and 423. This episode is going to be really jam-packed, and it's going to end off when Deku and Shigaraki defeat All for One. And this is where episode 8 is going to end off. And that leaves the last 4 episodes of season 8 to adapt the epilogue of MHA. So I think the first 8 episodes will be action, and then the last 4 will just be chill. But let me know what you think of my season 8 episode list. Do you agree? Do you not agree? Just let me know your thoughts.